Okay guys, I was just about to go to bed and I realized that I had promised that I would get this video up today. So I almost recorded this with a poor strip of my nose, so that would have been exciting. But I guess we'll just do this now. So I'm just going to go really quickly, chapter 12 and 13 with you, abnormal psychology first, and then treatment of psychological disorders. I know one of the questions on the test is going to ask you just about the definition of abnormal psychology. We know the 3Ds if it's going to be considered abnormal: deviant, distressful, and dysfunctional. So deviant meaning different, distressful, causing you stress, dysfunctional, like causing dysfunction. I was going to say dysfunction in your life, but causing problems in your life on a regular basis. So we want to make sure we understand psychological disorders from different models. Definitely perspectives is prevalent throughout this exam. The medical model, we know when we talk about the medical model, or when we talk about biological perspective, we're thinking about disorders that can be treated, knowing that they have physical causes that can be diagnosed, treated, and cured in treatment in a hospital. But this biopsychosocial approach takes a different kind of perspective because they think that the environment also matters. Because if you have someone with anorexia, for example, who might be treated in a hospital, but then they go back into the same environment, they're still going to have that disorder. So it's a more like all-encompassing approach to treating psychological disorders. Now, we know the DSM-4 is history, right? We have the DSM-5, but the one thing you want to make sure you remember, no matter what updates that are going to happen in the future, the disorder is not explain the causes or cures of disorders. It's just like identifying disorders based upon their symptoms. Remember, the DSM-5 was updated in 2013, so there were some changes. Don't forget about your supplementary text that I uploaded for you and gave you the hard copy of. Remember, Asperger's syndrome is dropped. It becomes, autism spectrum disorder. You also lose the subtypes of schizophrenia. You just have schizophrenia. It has different symptoms, but you don't have the subtypes of schizophrenia anymore. Gender identity disorder becomes gender dysphoria. Yeah. Okay, also another question that you want to be aware of, post-traumatic stress disorder. In your textbook, it says that it's an anxiety disorder. It's actually not an anxiety disorder anymore. It's considered a trauma and other stressor or trauma-related disorder. So that is different now. Also remember, obsessive-compulsive disorder is now considered obsessive-compulsive and other related disorders. It is also no longer an anxiety disorder with the DSM-5 change. Okay, when we're talking about anxiety disorders, sorry that picture's a bit messed up, your major characteristics of this is you have symptoms, anxiety, arousal of the autonomic nervous system, or defenses against that anxiety, trying to prevent from experiencing that anxiety. Okay. Phobias, remember, phobias must be irrational. It has to be something that you shouldn't actually be afraid of. Like, remember that woman we watched in class? She was afraid of kittens. That's obviously an irrational fear. Those kittens were just adorable, obviously. We'll see if one of mine make an appearance in the video today. So something that would be irrational. Remember my, small, round, clumped together objects. That is obviously irrational. Generalized anxiety disorder. So this is an anxiety disorder. You're continually tense, continually anxious. It's not like you're stressed out about a test or a specific event. You're just always anxious. Your autonomic nervous system is kind of always on alert. You can't really shut your brain off ever. So you may have troubles with sleeping, as far as insomnia and things like that. Panic disorder. Remember, panic disorder is the one disorder you're going to have these minutes-long episode of intense dread. What's really scary about panic disorder is that it doesn't have a necessary trigger. Like if you're going to have a panic attack or have a phobia, it has a specific trigger. Panic disorder does not. You could just be sitting there, having a great time, and all of a sudden your heart starts beating out of your chest. You're having issues breathing. You might have a headache. Feel like you actually might be dying in that moment. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, remember, that is no longer considered an anxiety disorder. Obsessive-compulsive is a related disorder now. Remember, the obsessions are the thoughts. So if someone's has problems with germs, with obsessive-compulsive disorder, the obsessions are going to be about the germs, about being dirty. And then the compulsions are the actual behavior. So the behavior of washing your hands or cleaning surfaces over and over again. Post-traumatic stress disorder, again, trauma or other stressor-related disorder. There is a specific trigger. It has to do some kind of past traumatic event. Dissociative disorders. Dissociative disorders, obviously the biggest one we talked about was dissociative identity disorder. Please don't put multiple personality disorder on any test. But dissociative amnesia, where you're going to suffer from a complete loss of identity, forget who you are, and this is generally due to trauma. Dissociative fugue, then, you don't necessarily need like an actual physical trauma, like being hit on the head. You just kind of wake up in an unfamiliar environment. Okay, dissociative identity disorder. A lot of us had issues on our FRQs who did do the FRQs with this definition for some reason. So multiple personality disorder, it's called dissociative identity disorder, used to be called multiple personality disorder. You have one or more different personalities. So be aware of that. A lot of times people confuse it with schizophrenia for some reason, and I'm not sure why. So please make sure that you're aware that it's just you're having this break of consciousness from like who you are. If I became, like a young boy or said my personality, right, I would kind of have that dissociation from who I am this day. Okay, somatoform disorders then, the most important ones we want to look at, hypochondriasis, conversion disorder then is going to be most important. You're going to report the existence of severe physical problems with no biological reason. This could be blindness or paralysis. We looked at the young girl who could not walk anymore because she was playing that game, and it was just psychological trauma. It wasn't actual physical trauma that she was experiencing, unfortunately. There was nothing actually physically wrong with her. Think of the scene from Ricky Bobby where he stabbed himself in the leg because he thinks he's paralyzed, but he's not actually paralyzed. There's nothing wrong with his legs. Munchausen disorder, it's considered factitious disorder in the DSM-5. You can make yourself sick or injured for kind of the attention. Remember the really sad story of the mom who did that to her daughter, unfortunately. So then that's factitious disorder. Now, mood disorders, there are some different categories, so pay attention to your supplementary text. But you're going to have some kind of extreme or inappropriate emotion than everybody else. Major depressive disorder, remember you're unhappy for at least 2 weeks with no apparent cause. This is considered the common cold of psychological disorders. Many people will experience major depressive disorder during their lifetime. Bipolar disorder is formerly called manic depression. Remember, it's not that they're happy and then they're sad. It's that you're in the depressed lows and then you have the manic highs. And the manic highs could include, impulsive behavior. It could be anger. It could be, intense emotions, as if you drank 10 Red Bulls or something like that. You feel that kind of almost anxiety. That's the manic high. And then the depressed lows would alternate with that. You go through these cycles. Seasonal affective disorder, you experience that during the winter months, but it's not based on temperature, but it's actually based on the amount of sunlight that you get or do not get during the winter. Light therapy is a really good solution for that. A lot of people may have those light boxes to reduce that mood disorder that you have. Schizophrenic disorders, again, remember there are no subtypes of schizophrenia anymore, but you have key symptoms, the disorganized thinking, delusions, disturbed perceptions, and inappropriate emotions and actions. Remember, delusions are going to be false beliefs. So remember back to the video we watched in class of the guy, so he's like, no, I'm Napoleon, I'm Jesus, Jesus eats his heart out at my words. That would be a delusion of grandeur. These are delusions, false beliefs. Whereas your perceptions or hallucinations, these are things that you can see, smell, taste, feel. You don't actually have the stimulation. So I could feel like a spider's crawling on me when there's not actually anything crawling on me. That's considered a hallucination. You also have inappropriate emotions and actions. And the biggest thing you want to make sure you're aware of, I know there are multiple questions on our test this week, is the difference between positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia. Remember, positive symptoms aren't good and negative symptoms aren't bad. I mean, none of them are really good symptoms, right? But when we talk about positive symptoms of schizophrenia, these are the presence of inappropriate systems. So we can think about things like those hallucinations or the delusions. When we talk about negative symptoms, those are absence of appropriate things that you or I may have. So something like a flat affect or, inappropriate emotion or something. Personality disorders, then, you guys did not do too well on the application of this, so I definitely want to make sure we're able to go over this. There's not a ton in your book about it, but there is a lot in the supplementary resources and the videos that I believe I posted online. Okay, so paranoid personality disorder, this is when you have kind of this paranoia that sometimes people might confuse this with schizophrenia. The paranoia involved with schizophrenia, but this is a personality disorder. You have a constant suspicion that people around you have sinister motives. Could be your boss, it could be your friends, it could be your family. Antisocial personality disorder, I couldn't believe how many people that in my second period class kind of messed this up on their FRQ. Antisocial personality disorder has nothing to do with being antisocial or not like getting along with people. This is your lack of conscience. This is formerly known as sociopaths or psychopaths. These people are prone to criminal behavior. They think that people, are deserving of being taken advantage of. So it's not necessarily going to be murderers and things like that. A lot of times CEOs and things like that, people who are in positions of power, are able to rise to their position because of this personality disorder. So please knock that out of your head that it's anything to do with actual social skills. Okay, borderline personality disorder, often confused with bipolar disorder. I kind of like to think about borderline personality disorder is more mood swings, not necessarily manic highs and depressive lows, but just different mood swings. They are more prone to anger for sure. This instability, you kind of never know kind of what their mood, if they're going to be happy, if they're going to be nice to you, if they're going to be mean to you, whatever. Histrionic personality disorder, these are people who need to be the center of attention, constant attention seekers. They always want attention. These people in your life for sure. They want to dominate the conversation. Okay. Narcissistic personality disorder, this is characterized by being self-centered. I know in our updated PowerPoint I had Kanye West. I think it's a perfect example of narcissistic personality disorder. They're exaggerating their achievements and just, they expect people to kind of worship them. Schizoid personality disorder, these are people who avoid relationships and they don't show much emotion. They want to be alone. They don't want to have friends. They are alone because they choose to be, okay? They don't want popularity. They just want everyone to completely leave them alone. Avoidant personality disorder, a lot of people confuse this. Avoidant personality disorder is they actually want to be friends. They want to have friends. They want to be social, but they just feel like they're inadequate and they feel really bad about themselves. So they kind of keep to themselves because they're afraid of being put down or embarrassed or something like that. Dependent personality disorder, this is when you have a dependence on other people. You might need them to make decisions for you, even down to picking your outfit or picking what you're going to eat for food that day. Okay. Now, treatment of psychological disorders. I'm hoping to finish this up in just a couple minutes. It's a bit shorter. If not, I'll add a second screencast video. Okay, so psychotherapy we want to be aware of. Remember, that's not just psychoanalysis. Psychotherapy is any kind of talk approach to treatment of psychological disorders, okay? So we know psychoanalysis. Certainly this chapter is heavy hitting on the different perspectives and how they address different disorders. You definitely want to know the terms of free association, of resistance, and transference. Guarantee you will see those, maybe on the FRQ too, so please pay attention to that. So be aware of these key terms that Freud is coming up with for the psychoanalytic approach. Do remember that the psychodynamic approach is kind of an updated version of Freud's psychoanalysis. It's much briefer, it's cheaper, you don't have to go to sessions as often. Psychoanalytic approach is all about interpretation, so it doesn't really matter what you may think, but the therapist is there kind of interpreting what you're saying. So it's more about their analysis of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what your dreams are, things like that. So definitely be aware of those Freudian techniques. I'm actually going to stop right here, and then I'm going to start the next video that I'll upload to the YouTube channel. So I'll finish up chapter 13 and then give you a couple of tips for the FRQ.